Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, Alex here, sitting by a wall in front of the river and enjoying the last few days of summer. And wanted to talk today about, because I'm going through this process at the moment involving quitting old habits, moving on to new habits, overcoming temptations, basically transferring from one habit or one set of habits to another. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what's been working for me, what's been on my mind recently, what's helped me in this transition process. And it also applies to those of you who are also trying to overcome various temptations, addictions as well. This also applies to addictions and those things that we can get hooked on and we can get used to and we can kind of get in the habit of doing that we know isn't particularly good for us. And maybe some of you want to move on and change your life through changing your habits. You know how important habit changes can be. So I wanted to talk about how my current process can apply to our own growth in terms of knowing how to do this without too much struggle or stress. Right now I am taking on a few habit changes, a few changes in my life. So I'm currently undergoing a strict carnivore diet, which is right at the other end of the spectrum of diets. And you might argue that this has been the kind of ancestral standard diet for the last several millennia, and we've only recently started changing things up a bit. So this means zero carbs. I'm not taking in any carbohydrates apart from bits and bobs here through cheese and stuff, but generally it's zero carb, and it's just meat, organs, fish, fish eggs, dairy. That's it. No fruit, no carbohydrates, no pastries. And I've been on it for about a week and a bit. Actually, it was a week today, yeah. And this is putting all kinds of new pressures on in terms of just craving carbohydrates. And I think I'm through the worst bit now, but it hasn't been so easy. And the main reason for doing this is I've been learning a lot about carnivore diet over the years, and I've been sticking to that side of the spectrum for a while, but I've never really gone full zero carb for as long as I'm planning to, for 75 days. It's something that I picked up through a book called The Carnivore Cure, and it sounds interesting in terms of, at the very least, what it does to your gut. And it kind of is argued that 75 days is a great stretch to really reset the gut and allow it to kind of thrive in its natural state, taking in what is supposedly its natural foods that we've been eating for thousands and thousands of years, giving it a break from all of this processed crap that so many of us have been taking in for our whole lives. And I just wanted to see what the effects of that would be, mentally, physically, feeling good. And I'm also curious in terms of what it's going to do to my body temperature. I tend to get quite hot and sweaty quite easily, and that's been a bother for me for many years, and I just want to see whether completely cutting out all carbs is going to help with that. And I'm already starting to experience the benefits of that. So this could be really life-changing in that sense for me. But also everything I'm learning about, this is turning into a video on carnivore diet, which is not really what I was planning to do, so bear with me. The other aspect of cutting down on carbs is something that I'm learning about, how it basically ages you. Carbohydrates accelerate the glycation process in the body, which means that you kind of end up getting older more quickly. So that's something to consider. Sorry to throw a spanner in the works there for those of you who love carbs like I do. It's not easy. And the other thing that I'm quitting, what's the other thing? Zero carb is the main thing, so that's one of my big habit changes right now. And the other aspect is caffeine. So I've been off caffeine for about a month now, and I still want a cup of coffee, I still want a cup of tea. It's not easy either. So those are the two things that I'm going through right now, and I want to tell you a little bit more about what's helped me. So if you are considering a major habit change or a simple habit change, you want to quit pornography or smoking or eating crap, or you want to take on better habits, there are several things that I'm learning through this, and over the years I've learned a lot that's really helped me stick to these things. I know that I haven't stuck to things for long stretches, and this is why I'm still kind of in the learning process with you, but I've also picked up enough, I could argue, that even if I forget to use it, has been helpful in terms of allowing me, enforcing my sticking to them for long stretches. So I was off caffeine, for example, for 3 months last year, but I came up with all kinds of excuses after a while. But for the time period that I was off caffeine, the strategies I used was helpful. And the same applies to what I'm going through right now and other things that I've managed to keep off for a while. Obviously, sometimes people slip and we kind of fall back off track, and that's something to discuss in this. So let's talk about what's been helpful for me. So there are 3 components that I have found most helpful to take on board for those of you who are trying to quit something, trying to resist temptation, trying to do less of something and more of something else. The first aspect of it that's really helpful that very few people talk about is really embracing what kind of a person you are becoming when you're off the thing you want to avoid. So if you're trying to quit smoking, for example, instead of focusing on what you're missing and all the sad things you're missing out on because you're no longer smoking, and the rushes that you were missing out on, and the kind of sense of peace and calm that you supposedly get from sitting down with a cigarette, and all the valid reasons pro smoking that we can get wrapped up in that can pull us back to smoking, instead of thinking about those things, you want to try and immerse yourself in and remind yourself of all the reasons why you don't want to smoke. So it's really putting your attention and absorbing and kind of wrapping yourself up as enmeshed as you can be into everything to do with the benefits of not smoking. So how are you going to feel? What's it doing to your health long term? What's it doing to your the smell is going to go of your the smell on your fingers and the smell in your house. Decreased anxiety, more self-respect. You've got to continually remind yourself and just immerse yourself even in just the vision of being a non-smoker. Really feel your way into the reality of not being a smoker. And for me, with caffeine, for example, I'm continually having to kind of go back to this understanding of the fact that caffeine is keeping me calm. It's having all kinds of benefits for my sleep, which is going to have a knock-on effect in all areas of life. And the understanding that I return to a lot with the caffeine thing is that it's something that I've picked up in various studies on caffeine, so also helps a lot to continually read about the benefits and remind yourself every day if needed about why you need to be off this stuff. So for example, in my case, I would have slipped and gone back into caffeine a long time ago hadn't I really absorbed the idea that you're actually much more productive and much more capable when you're off it. And what caffeine does is it kind of gives you a full sense of performance increase when actually it's just limiting you in the first place and bringing you back up to even less than what normal people off caffeine are experiencing. So you're kind of lulled into this full sense of performance boost when actually you're just low, rising to a lower point, lower than you can be. So you're actually hindering yourself in all kinds of ways, and it only feels as though you're getting a boost because you're kind of just experiencing the anxiety and the stress of adrenal hormones being released in your body. So you're in a fight or flight thinking that you're high performing, you're actually just stressed, which isn't fantastic. So it's that kind of knowledge, and it's just understanding why it's so much better to be in the new habit, which is to drink herbal tea and to avoid coffee. And it's just to sort of feel your way into the joy and the beauty and all the benefits and all the joys that you're going to get out of not going down the route of the bad habit. So that's the first component that's been really helpful for me, is just put your attention on the things that's going to be working for you. Second part is, I'm going to need to check my notes for this. The second bit of this is to expect withdrawals. So your body is going to react to the fact that you've taken something away that it used to love. And it's not what your body truly needs, it's what your chemicals have been kind of growing adjusted to. So it's a sort of fake addiction. So it's a kind of fake attachment to something that the body doesn't really need, but because it's kind of chemical related, it's going to create this withdrawal effect as the body adjusts to you not needing that stuff anymore. So you're going to have to, if you go into something like quitting smoking or quitting sugar or whatever it is, and you don't expect to feel rubbish for a few days, then you're going to want to come back onto it. This is why things like caffeine are so powerful, and it's such a good business model, because people are basically hardwired into not wanting to, it's going to be very difficult for people to quit because they need caffeine to feel normal again. So you have to be strong if you're going to pull away from this stuff, and expect withdrawals for a few days, and treat yourself well during that time, as if you're ill, you're sick, and you're just going through that self-care phase, and that's totally fine. You need to expect some suffering and some feeling sorry for yourself for a bit, because otherwise you're going to give up too soon. So expect that withdrawal phase, expect it to hurt, expect yourself to have headaches and that kind of stuff for a bit, and prepare yourself for that. If you can avoid going to doing things that demand your clarity and focus for a while, then avoid those things and allow yourself that space. The other bit that's helpful for me, and I have had withdrawals myself, so I've been through like the last week kind of really craving carbohydrates, and it's now starting to settle a bit, but I haven't put pressure on myself to really push myself in the last week, for example, in that area, because then I'd be really frustrated and I'd give up. Third part of this is, don't torture yourself through the process of changing habits and overcoming temptations and kind of breaking yourself free from addiction. If you're addicted to something and you've made the decision to move beyond that and to quit and to do something else, don't make it harder for yourself, right? And a lot of us do this, and I do it all the time with things like trying to think of some examples. So in the past with carbohydrates and things, if I was doing kind of a carnivore diet, porn as well, all kinds of stimulants, video games, it's very easy to trick yourself into thinking that just taking a little taste, giving yourself a little glimpse, a little hint, maybe having a little bite of something, a little sip of something, or a little kind of like a half cigarette if you're smoking here and there, that'll kind of be a nice compromise. But actually what you're doing is you're torturing yourself by reminding you and kind of refilling your body with those chemicals again, when you're trying to quit, which is just ludicrous really, but we still do it because we have that craving that's still there, and we just cave to that and we compromise, and that's not going to help you either. So you're basically torturing yourself, making it harder by allowing yourself to glimpse a page in a Playboy magazine. If you're trying to quit pornography, for example, that's not going to help. It's going to make it twice as hard, because you're now filling your mind with all the things that you were trying to get your mind off. And the crux, the key thing in all of this, if you're trying to quit a habit, it's mental really at the end of the day. It might feel like a chemical, physical thing, but ultimately you're responding to ideas in your head. Your body, your thoughts are extremely powerful. Your thoughts are dictating your beating of your heart. They're basically keeping you alive. It's an incredible thing that's going on in there. So if you're basically adding to your thoughts with all the stuff that you're trying to quit, your addictions, you're making it 10 times harder, because you're already starting to get to create the kind of physical response. So for those of you who are trying to quit, let's say sugar, if you're sitting there thinking about desserts and entertaining thoughts and visions of cakes and scones, this is difficult for me to talk through here because I miss it so badly, you are putting yourself at a major disadvantage. So you have to be strong, and it starts with understanding how powerful thoughts are. If you allow these thoughts to enter your mind, you are unconscious. You're not in the present anymore. You're in thoughts, you're in visions, and you're in the world of illusion. You're in the dream world. And that is basically like, taking a ticket on a magic carpet to hell, basically. It's one way of putting it. You're making life harder for yourself because you're kind of in the world of dreams, and when you're in a dream world, you've got no control. There's no self-control. You're more easily going to relapse. So you have to counteract that by developing the habit of consciousness and awareness, and being more present and being more ruthless to these thoughts and saying, no, I'm not going to entertain these thoughts. I mean, it's okay if you let them in for like 5 seconds or whatever, but you have to move on. You have to have the strength to turn away to other things, and that's going to help you. If you can stop these temptations at the level of thought, that's a huge kind of it's a shortcut. It's a foot in the door, whereas most people are going through the door and rooting around in the larder. You know, it cuts it short much sooner. It cuts the cycle short quickly, so that you don't have to go through all the pain of craving, because a lot of craving is to do with you holding thoughts in your mind about what you want to have. So if you can cut that short, you've put yourself at a huge advantage, and it's going to be a lot easier to turn away from bad habits. If you can operate with control, self-control at the level of mind first, that's going to make things a lot easier. So that's been really helpful for me. Is just I probably would have lost at this game a long time ago had I been entertaining all these thoughts about eating the things I want to eat, but I don't go there. You know, I go on a walk instead. I record videos, so my mind is off the stuff I want to do and have, and that's really a cheat code. Is getting conscious, replacing illusion and vision with consciousness. And I'm aware that this video is going on quite a bit. I hope it was helpful, but those are the 3 kind of key elements for me in terms of quitting things, getting over addictions and temptations. And I think this stuff is useful enough even for the most powerful addictions. Ultimately, it's our thoughts that are kind of running the show, and if we can get a handle on those, we're in a good place. So just to recap the 3 bits, 3 things that have helped me the most in overcoming past addictions, past bad habits. The first bit is focus on all the good things that are going to come out of you being off it, and realize that perhaps there's much more joy in the benefits than the short-term hit. There is more of in a sense you're getting more of a high, more of a hit by actually embracing the other way of living. And you got to look for that. You got to kind of feel your way into that and understand it, and really have a strengthened sense of purpose behind why you need to do these things. Maybe even write a list, brainstorm all the good reasons for why you absolutely must change this habit. And it requires daily, if not hourly, reminding. You know, kind of immerse yourself in the good aspect of it, and then you'll find yourself breaking through sooner than later. Second part is expecting withdrawals, and the third aspect is make sure that you don't torture yourself with getting yourself in close proximity to the bad habits in the first place, but also at the level of mind. You don't want to be filling your mind with all the thoughts and temptations in kind of thought form that makes it very, very difficult to break away from these things that can hold on to us tight. Hope that was helpful, guys. I know that I went on for a bit. I hope if you're still with me, congrats, man. I'm impressed, but would love to hear what you think, and if you've got any questions in the comments below, as always. And if you're not already subscribed to my newsletter, untetheredmind.substack.com, there's all kinds of goodies coming through there, and stuff that you're not going to get anywhere else but through the newsletter. There's all kinds of other bonuses, so check it out. It's a nice source of ongoing knowledge. And thanks for watching, guys. Take care.